What if one injustice doesn't stay alone, and the harm it causes multiplies, spreading tenfold across lives, generations, and society? In a world obsessed with fairness, we like to believe that injustice is rare, isolated, and solvable. We think that when a wrong occurs, the legal system, laws, or authorities will step in, punish the guilty, and restore balance. But the reality is far more complex. Injustice is rarely contained. Like a stone thrown into water, one act of harm ripples endlessly. It touches lives we cannot see, influences decisions we cannot predict, and reshapes societies we believe to be stable. Tonight, we explore a truth that few dare to confront. One injustice creates 10 more. This is time for justice. Every single act of wrongdoing triggers a cascade of consequences. Imagine a seemingly small injustice's single fraudulent act, a lie, or an abuse of power. It might appear minor at first, but its impact rarely stops there. The families of victims suffer in ways we can't always predict. Communities experience disruption and a deep, corrosive distrust. And our institutions, the very bedrock of society, are destabilized when misconduct is ignored. The effect is exponential. One wrong act breeds multiple subsequent harms. Consider this. A stolen farm doesn't just harm the owner, it harms the employees who lose their jobs, the suppliers who lose a client, the families who depend on that income, and the local economy that relies on that business. It's a chain reaction. A corrupt leader's decision doesn't just enrich themselves. It erodes citizens' faith in government, poisons social trust, and burdens future generations with the consequences. The truth nobody talks about is this. Injustice is never a singular event. It is a multiplying force. The initial harm is just the first domino to fall. The real devastation comes from the chain reaction that follows. A chain reaction that society itself often helps to accelerate. How does this happen? How do societies amplify harm? It happens through a few quiet, insidious mechanisms. First, there's normalization. Small injustices, when they happen often enough, go unnoticed. They become part of the background noise of daily life. We shrug and say, that's just how things are. But once we tolerate the small wrongs, we pave the way for larger injustices to follow. Then there's the power of fear and silence. Victims, witnesses, and entire communities may stay silent out of fear of retaliation or because they feel powerless. This silence allows wrongdoers to continue their actions completely unharmed, emboldened by the lack of consequences. And we can't ignore corruption and complicity. Those in power might protect perpetrators, creating tangled networks of unaccountable behavior. This isn't just about turning a blind eye. It's about actively shielding wrongdoing, which sends a clear message that certain people are above the law. Finally, there are the delayed consequences. The immediate harm of an unjust act might seem minor, but over time, like a slow-acting poison, the damage spreads and multiplies. It erodes foundations, weakens bonds, and eventually causes a collapse that seems to come out of nowhere, but was actually years in the making. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. Unchecked injustice grows stronger with every instance, leaving devastation in its wake. The truth nobody talks about is this. Society often becomes an accomplice in injustice by failing to act decisively. Our inaction, our silence, our acceptance, it all feeds the beast. But what happens when human systems fail? When courts fail, laws are ignored, and institutions protect the guilty. That's when universal law steps in. You can call it karma, divine justice, or the natural law of moral balance. Whatever the name, the principle is the same. It ensures that every harmful act accumulates a certain kind of energy. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal generates a consequence. Every injustice creates a debt that, sooner or later, must be repaid. The multiplication effect becomes crystal clear here. One lie doesn't just end there. It can lead to widespread distrust, broken relationships, and even societal division, as people no longer know who or what to believe. One corrupt decision at the top can trigger an economic collapse, causing the loss of livelihoods for thousands and creating intergenerational suffering that lasts for decades. And one act of violence can spark retaliation, unleash cycles of trauma, and create a legacy of abuse that haunts families and communities for generations. The truth nobody talks about is this. The universe keeps score. One injustice multiplies into 10, and then 100, until the cosmic balance is finally restored. The debt always comes due. There is no escaping the consequences of our actions. They simply return, often in a form we didn't expect, and almost always magnified. Understanding that injustice multiplies isn't meant to make us feel helpless. In fact, it gives us immense power to act. So, how do we stop this destructive cycle? First, we must speak the truth. Silence is the fertilizer for injustice. It allows it to grow and spread in the dark. Speaking out, even in a small way, interrupts the chain. It shines a light where there was darkness. Second, we must hold others accountable. This doesn't always mean a dramatic public showdown. Even small acts of accountability, questioning a decision, refusing to participate in something wrong, supporting a colleague who's been mistreated can prevent further harm. Each act of accountability is a brake on the runaway train of injustice. Third, we must work to restore balance. Where possible, we should repair the damage. This could mean returning stolen goods, offering a sincere apology, or actively supporting victims. Restoration is the antidote to the poison of injustice. It begins to heal the wounds. Fourth, we need to educate and empower. Awareness is our greatest defense. When communities understand how injustice operates and how it multiplies, they become stronger and more resilient against it. Knowledge empowers people to recognize injustice early and to act before it spirals out of control. Finally, we must align ourselves with universal justice. We need to recognize that true accountability exists beyond human systems. Living with integrity, honesty, and compassion isn't just a moral preference. It's a practical strategy. It aligns us with the natural flow of balance and protects us from accumulating a karmic debt. By interrupting the chain early, we prevent one injustice from creating 10 more. We restore balance, protect our communities, and honor the unshakable principle of the karma of justice. Living in awareness of these consequences changes everything. It means understanding that one injustice does not happen in isolation. Every choice we make has consequences seen and unseen, immediate and delayed, personal and societal. Our actions ripple out far beyond ourselves. Living with this awareness means recognizing that silence in the face of injustice isn't neutrality. It's complicity. It's choosing a side by not choosing. It means knowing that, speaking the truth, no matter how difficult, accelerates the process of restoration and healing. The truth nobody talks about is this: justice is not a passive state. It is an active force. It's a force that multiplies harm when it's ignored, but multiplies balance and harmony when it's embraced. When we choose to act with integrity, courage, and awareness, we have the power to transform the vicious cycle of injustice into a virtuous cycle of restoration. Time for justice is not just a name, it is a commitment. It's a commitment to stop one injustice from creating 10 more. Injustice does not occur in a vacuum. Every single act of harm carries within it the seed of its own multiplication, with the potential to touch countless lives, reshape entire societies, and profoundly affect future generations. Our courts may fail, our laws may be ignored, our systems may even protect the guilty. But universal justice does not fail. Karma ensures that every injustice will return to its source, in ways that are precise, inevitable, and often multiplied. Understanding this powerful principle empowers victims, witnesses, and communities. It's a profound reminder: every action matters, every silence has a cost, and every injustice, if left unchecked, will multiply. The question is no longer whether there will be a reckoning. The question is, will you allow the multiplication of harm, or will you stand for justice? This is time for justice. If this made you think, subscribe. Truth needs witnesses.